Welcome to Throwback Thursday, where we bring you a homeopathy hangout episode from our archives in case you missed it first time round. Because this episode may be a couple years old by the time you hear it as a throwback, some of the special offers, links, or content may not be valid anymore, so please keep this in mind when listening. You're always welcome to reach out to us at info@eugeniekruger.com. Enjoy the episode. So today was an incredibly special day for me. I got to interview the amazing and inspiring Sue Meyer from the Homeopathy for Mommies podcast. I discovered the Homeopathy for Mommies podcast a few years ago now, and I'm pretty sure I've listened to every single episode. Sue was one of the people who inspired me to start this podcast. She has the most beautiful heart, and she shares her love for homeopathy so passionately, and she has the most gorgeous laugh. I absolutely love listening to her and learning from her, and I've been recommending her podcast to my clients and friends for years. So if you haven't already, check out Sue's website, www.homeopathyformommies.com. So that's MOMMIES. Also her podcast, Homeopathy for Mommies, and her book by the same name. And she also has a membership and online training courses for those who really want to take their home prescribing to the next level. I know you're going to love this episode as much as I do. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we speak with the incredibly lovely Sue Meyer, who is one of my absolute favorite homeopathy heroines. Welcome, Sue.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Eugenie, for having me.
Now, I already had some fangirl gushing out of the way before we started, but you're going to have to let me have a little bit more gushing because your podcast has inspired me for years. I think I said to you that I have a 110-kilometer round trip daily to get to the clinic, and you have been in my ear holes for years and probably hundreds of hours. And your passion that you have for sharing homeopathy with the masses is what really has inspired me to do the same, because homeopathy is so amazing. And I think with the two of us, we could probably do like a 12-hour podcast of how amazing homeopathy is. But just the way that you share it and the passion that you share it has really inspired me. So I personally want to thank you for everything that you've done in my life without even knowing.
You're so sweet. Well, I guess you're welcome. Your thank you is embarrassing me, but I appreciate that you appreciate the efforts, because it is an effort. I know you do your podcast, and it's a lot of work, but at the same time, I can't not share my excitement. And when Felice got me started in the podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? How am I going to do this? And anything, one thing leads to another. And I do like being able to share my excitement. So thank you for even taking it one step further.
Well, the other reason why you're my hero is I have two children, a 10-year-old boy, 7-year-old daughter, and I homeschooled them for 2 years. Now, that pretty much did my head in. I don't know how you have 11 children and about to have 41 grandchildren, and you homeschooled all 11 of your children. How on earth are you still alive?
In all fairness, I didn't know homeschooling was legal. Okay. I really didn't. And I had some neighbors that told me about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, aren't you scared you're going to get arrested? And they said, no, it's perfectly legal. And I'm like, I didn't believe them. Honestly, I didn't for almost a whole year. Then I happened to meet this Catholic gal, and she said she homeschooled. And I'm like, so my neighbors are telling the truth. It's legal. And so anyway, of course, there was no computers back then and, anything like that. And so I started looking into it, and my husband was really, really reluctant, but I was so excited. I just went forward, and when I started homeschooling, I actually pulled 6 kids out of school. My oldest son was already 16, and then 15, 14 on down. And so the youngest child that I started homeschooling was actually going into 2nd grade. So I already had 4 kids that knew how to read, 5 kids that knew how to read of the 6 that I started homeschooling. So I didn't, I spent the whole summer reading books about how to teach each grade. And imagine my surprise when I found out my 2nd grader, my son going into 2nd grade, did not know how to read. I'm like, sure you do. The book says you know how to read. You're going into 2nd grade. He's like, no, I don't. I said, yes, you do, honey. No, I don't, Mom. I said, but you were reading all those petitions that they had for you last year. He goes, Mom, I just memorized them. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't know what to do. So I went back and I regrouped and said, okay, let's just refresh. We'll just talk about the alphabet and its sounds. And he goes, I don't know all my letters either, Mom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the truth. And so that was my experience going into second grade. Is it was like scrambling, he was really smart. The kid ended up putting himself, by the time he went through high school, he spent 11th and 12th grade going post-secondary. So he had a double degree, mechanical, electrician, and something else. And it was just whatever. This was so smart.
Amazing.
He used to get mad at me because I couldn't remember the math lesson from the day before. By the time he was in 8th grade, he's like, Mom, how can you not remember this? We did this yesterday. And I'm like, well, honey, math is not my thing. Story problems are great. But as soon as he got into algebra, I'm like, man, got about halfway through the year. And it's like, you need a new teacher.
Yeah, I don't even think my son will be that old before he outdoes me in maths. My brain does not work that way.
Yeah, that was me. I would loved English, but boy, the math,
Mm-hmm.
So then they started coming out with dive CDs. So they had, he'd actually call me in when he's watching his math lesson for the day. Mom, look, a real teacher.
Oh,
what do you call me? Buddy, chopped liver.
So I'm guessing you were living on sepia. That's what I would do if I had 11 kids in the house.
No, the funny thing is I was tired. When I was pregnant, I was tired. But no, we always had a huge garden. And I walked 2 miles every morning. I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I was up 2 hours before about an hour and a half to 2 hours before I had to get the kids out of bed. So I had my walk in, my chores in, something was in the oven being baked for the day. And I'd have the meat out or whatever I was going to have for supper sitting on the counter. So I just put that together during lunch hour. But no, I'm tired now. But when my kids were young, no. And then we had school done, laundry done, everything done by noon, 1-ish. And then the afternoon was ours to play. Then that was just the thing. Okay, kids, let's get it done so we can go for a walk, or we can go to grandma's, or we can go to the park, or we can go to the lake. And, so we always had something exciting to do for the day. We always had our family meeting. Kids knew what the reward was going to be every day. So no, I did take sepia once thinking that's a good remedy for me, but it wasn't.
Oh, really?
I have a daughter that really loves sepia, but she's the only one of all my girls that responds well to it. So it's kind of fun. I don't know.
So, Sue, how were you first introduced to homeopathy?
Well, again, with homeschooling, how moms talk. And it was my 8th baby. And I had started when we were homeschooling, and I had recurring mastitis. After my 4th baby, I was out playing tennis, because I love to be active. But she was only 4 months old, and I got dehydrated that day. So, mineral loss and everything else. And I ended up with milk fever that night, which was horrible. I mean, I can't even explain it. It's not mastitis. It's where your entire equilibrium just completely goes off. You can't see things straight. Everything was just, it was terrible. Anyway, so after that, it left me with chronic mastitis. And so every pregnancy I would have it again, but it wasn't never really, really bad until my 8th baby. And then I had it every 6 weeks, and I was on a revolving door of antibiotics. And so I had mentioned that to one of the homeschool moms, whatever. And so one day, one of the dads in the homeschool group, he comes up to me. He says, "Hey, Sue, and I hear you have mastitis all the time." And I'm like, "Oh, I wanted to die." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "Okay, next time you get it," he says, "I want you to take a couple of these little pills." And I'm like, "Okay." I says, "What is it?" And he handed me a little boron tube of Phytoloca. And I looked at it and I'm like, "Okay, how do I take it?" So he showed me how to take it. And I'm like, I just went home, and I didn't realize that he was also a naturopath and a homeopath. He didn't tell me that day. He just handed me some medicine and embarrassed me to death. And I went home, and sure enough, about 3 weeks later, I started getting sick, and I called in my prescription. I went to bed. I told the kids, "Don't bother mommy, because, just bring me the baby if you need to." And I went to bed waiting for my fever to spike, because my fever will go to 105. Even when I was as an adult, I get really high fevers. So anyway, went to bed, waited and I laid there and like, "Hey, what's that stuff he gave me?" And as it turns out, he ended up being the homeopath that taught me all about homeopathy. But so I went and I said, "Where's that stuff Jim gave me?" And I went and found it, and I looked at it. I couldn't remember how he told me to take it. And I finally figured it out, took a couple pellets, went and laid in bed, waiting for my fever to go up, and it never did. And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's weird, because I always get a high fever." So I got up, and my husband came home and goes, "I thought you were sick." And I said, "Well, I guess not." And then instead of 6 weeks, it was 8 weeks before I started getting sick again. I called in my prescription, because my husband would always pick it up on the way home.
Mm.
And so then I went to bed and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that stuff again. I took it again and never got a fever. So then it was about 12 weeks. It was 3 full months before I started getting sick again. I took it again and never got mastitis again after that date. And I went on to have a few more children. So it works. Homeopathy just works.
That's amazing. And that is really the one thing where I always think if we can just save somebody from 1 or 2 rounds of antibiotics, because once you've had those antibiotics, it really, it really puts your gut on the back foot. And then if you're breastfeeding and the baby's getting that through the breast milk, it really affects their gut as well. And mastitis, I've only ever had it once and I was delirious with a fever. I swear I had this conversation with my mother-in-law that she said afterwards we did not have, but I was so delirious, and belladonna absolutely saved me. But if we can just get these mums, because you've got a newborn, you're a little bit out of it already. And then you've got this incredible pain and you can't look after this baby. And homeopathy is so safe and effective. I always say, get the script, go get the antibiotics, but just try the homeopathy first.
Right. That's exactly right. I tell people, if your doctor prescribes something for you, pick it up. In an emergency, take what you have to do or do what you have to do, but pick it up and always try homeopathy first. Mm. And of course, I don't like to red flag the industry either that I'm not picking up my prescriptions. So, and then you have them if you need them. But
absolutely.
No, I don't honestly, because I had strep throat all the time. And I was just trying to think. I've never been on antibiotics since then. And I used to be on it at least once a year because of strep throat.
Wow.
It's just
amazing.
It's crazy. And he also, that same child ended up with COVID that was so bad this last November. We had, I don't know, a lot of family things going on. I lost my brother. But I know if he would have been in favor of homeopathy, he would have been fine. Because 3 days after his funeral, my son came down with it. And I spent 2 weeks with him. And he had a broken back. I know that's, and our family went through so many different emotional things that month. And so he had broken his back. And then my brother passed away, which we were all really, really close with him. So the emotional, hammering that we all went through. And then when he came down with it, he'd never been vaccinated, and he had never been on antibiotics other than what I was on when I was nursing him. And I did nurse him while I was on the antibiotics, because back then I didn't even know I shouldn't do that. But point being, he came through it amazingly well, and he's doing great today. But yeah, it's just, I'm so thankful for homeopathy because, and I will say, I actually called my doctor friend too, because I was taking care of him in his apartment, and I called my doctor friend, and he was extremely helpful as well. So my daughter-in-law was helpful. I had people to call and but it was, anyway, so.
I'm so sorry about your brother, Sue. And I think it was all around Christmas time as well. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. But I know. Well, we're not in charge of life, and everyone has to pass. And he's a good guy. But yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are, but just when you said that about not breastfeeding when you're on antibiotics, I always think it almost feels to me that it doesn't matter what drug the mum is on. I still feel her breast milk is better than anything else out there. I could be wrong, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Just while we're on the topic.
Well, okay. So like we were dairy farmers as well. So if we had cattle on antibiotics or anything else, we always dumped the milk just because. But the thing is I do believe the blood-brain barrier, as well as mammary glands, the body is intrinsically smart. And so the body will screen bad things and try and not send it through the mother's milk for the most part. But we don't know exactly what drugs are going to be able to sneak by that, and I do believe antibiotics are one that will sneak by. It's not a direct give to the baby. They're probably getting residual, but at the same time, I think it's going to be in really, really, really low doses unless you have goat's milk on hand or another mother's milk or yours frozen. I do think it's better to just continue nursing because of the emotional trauma too, to wean the child that way. But it is nice to have frozen milk or goat's milk.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got any of those options or a good friend that can, wet nurse as well, that would, definitely preferable.
Exactly.
So Sue, you were just saying you're about to have your 41st, 41, like 4-1 grandchild about to be born. I'm guessing you use homeopathy quite a bit in your family. Can you maybe tell us about some times when you've used homeopathy in your family?
Well, actually, every day. I mean, I don't think a day goes by, but when someone doesn't stop here and pick up a remedy at the store or my house. And I got to tell you this, Eugenie, this is really, really cool because last year I asked my granddaughters, well, Paola Brown is the one that inspired me to do this because she did this children's curriculum. And so on our members group, I was doing like the storytelling, and then we would talk about the remedies. And I had a small group of children from our members corner that we got together for, I think it was every week for like 9 weeks and went through Paola's book, which was so, so fun. And there was a few of my granddaughters in that class. Well, I realized how much fun it was just to spend curriculum time with the granddaughters, I'd love to do something with my grandsons as well, but I don't think I could entertain them. They're going to be too high energy. But the granddaughters, I asked them, see, girls, would you guys like to get together and talk about homeopathy more often? And they're like, sure. So we started kind of getting together and discussing homeopathy just out of my first book. And then when I came back from Florida, I told them, I says, how would you guys like to learn craniosacral? And they're like, okay. So what we do now is we get together and we talk about a homeopathic remedy every Wednesday. And they have to come and have, something to say about the remedy. And I choose it ahead of time or they choose it. And then we do hands-on craniosacral, myofascial, unwinding, body balancing. And they are getting so good. Yesterday, we had 5, massage tables set up and everyone was working on a sibling or a cousin. And these are girls that are 8 years old up to, well, my 17-year-old granddaughter's in the class too, but she's been working. So it just goes up the 13-year-olds, 8 to 13-year-olds. And oh my gosh, we're having so much fun and they're getting so smart. So my one granddaughter, she came in and she had this one story. She said, Grandma, you know that remedy we talked about last week? Oh my goodness, I got to use it. She was telling on and on about the story. And she's 10. I think that little girl's so fun. I just love it. And I was telling my daughter, I says, I think I'm just going to go to teaching kids because they're so fun and they're so excited about it.
I completely agree. Like I said, my kid is a 10 and 8 and 7. I've only got 2 kids. I can't even remember the second one's age. So they are so in tune with homeopathy. I think because as children, they're so much more in tune with nature and, magic and things like that. So they love learning about homeopathy as well. But I just also have to say, I've had Paola on the podcast, and when I saw you two having that retreat in Texas, I was so jealous. And if you ever have another one and all this COVID stuff is gone, I will so be there because I'm sure it was incredible fun.
It was fun. It really was. And she did a great job. I was really, really impressed. And of course, in Texas, you can have everything outside, and we didn't even have bugs. It was cold the night we were there, though. I will say that. But the next day, it was beastly hot again.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I was following her on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere, and just I saw the photos. I was like, oh, it looks so fun. And she's another, homeschool mum that just completely blows my mind. But so, Sue, what sort of things do you use homeopathy for in your house?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, even my daughter's like, Mom, look, we have 3 dogs. One's a puppy, but she says she's dragging herself. And I says, well, it could be a plugged gland, or you need to. So we use remedies to deworm, the animals. And being a puppy, you should do it, more often. But stuff like that, I see here. I'm just trying to think.
So
oh my gosh, just this week alone, we've used homeopathy. Just the most bizarre things have gone on. And I'm like, I can't even remember any of them right now because I did use pituitary this week as well. There's a lot of people that can't sleep.
Yeah.
And I said, depending on what else is going on, I says, you know what, just take 3 doses in a week's period of time. And let me know if your sleep doesn't improve. Mm-hmm. And the sleep improves, but there's a lot of, like I said, I just don't know what's going on in the world as far as hormones getting bumped so far out of balance so quickly. You can have somebody just in perfect health one day and the next day their hormones are just messed up. So, constantly juggling that. Mm. Oh, my grandson, I have him on like Rutagraph and Calphos, and I have him on Calflor, Calphos, and for the cell salts, and then Rutagraph because he's growing so fast that he's having knee problems. Of course, he comes in for craniosacral work as well, and he loves that. But yeah, it's just, we use literally something every day.
Yeah.
My daughter will come and say, Mom, what do you think I should take? And she'll tell me her symptoms. And so I'll say, well, I don't know. What do you think? I always make them try to figure out what they need, you know, which is because they think I'm going to live forever.
Well, I hope you do. So,
so cute.
You said you were going to share a story with us as well about your leg.
Oh, my leg.
Yeah.
Okay. This was, and there is a podcast out there. I'm not sure the name of it, but I have told this story. But I will tell you that my baby, okay, she is now 18 and a half, but she was just a little over a year. And I had taken all the kids, Angela on down. So I had taken my 6 youngest kids. We went ice skating. Yes, in Minnesota, we ice skate. And so we went ice skating and it was the most beautiful day. And anyway, long story short, I had taken my skates off and I was pulling my baby around in a little sled as I skated, you know, and I came back to shore and I thought, oh, it's time we got to get going. The sun's starting to set. And I thought, oh, just one more whip around, because as it turned out, the lake that day was just smooth and clear. There was no snow on it, which is rare in Minnesota. So I went out to skate again and the ice was cracked a little bit in the middle of the lake. And so my toe picked. And I don't know how it happened. All I know is I crumpled so bad. I felt my leg snap and I hit the top of my head and my knee, everything was underneath me, my leg, everything. And as I laid back and I rolled over to the side to go, because I knew I broke my leg because I felt it go. But of course, you want to throw up. That's instantly, you know, your pain. And one of my daughters was with me. And I said, Sophie, quick, go get the other kids and bring a chair and hurry. So she went, so anyway, to my 2 older kids, she went and skated and got them. And then they came back with the chair. By the time they got back, I had taken my skate off, which I knew not to do. I knew that was a big no-no because, you know, you don't, but I did. And so, I told them to bring my boots too. So they brought my boots. I put my foot in the boot and they slid me back across the lake and they helped me hop up the embankment. Of course, nobody could drive yet because they were like 12 and under. And so I drove with my left foot home. And I says, when we get home, because we were like 5 miles from home, I says, when we get home, I said, somebody run in, get me the arnica and get me the crutches, because I didn't know how long I was going to last, because I wanted to throw up. And the thing is about shock. It doesn't matter how tough you think you are. Your body does go into a form of shock just from pain. And so anyway, they brought me the arnica and they took a dose and, I just sat there until I started feeling better. Then the nausea went away and I started, so then I got in the house and I told my husband what happened. He's like, you what? You broke your leg? I said, yeah, honey, I think you better take me in. Anyway, long story short, the doctor kind of messed up my leg. Okay, she didn't mess up my legs. They casted it, but the swelling went down. And 9 days later, I re-broke my leg inside the cast. And I called a doctor. They said they couldn't get me in. So I waited overnight and I went in the next day. She took my cast off and wanted me to walk out of the hospital. I says, lady, no. I told you I re-broke it. I felt it snap again. Oh no, look at these x-rays. They look wonderful. My foot looked like a bowl full of jelly. My knee, I still had my foot tied to my knee because my knee was just such a mess.
Hi, homies. Just a quick break in the episode to ask for your help. Producing this show takes a lot of time and money, and I would really appreciate your support so I can continue producing new episodes for you to enjoy. You can visit www.buymeacoffee.com/hangout to make a donation from as little as $5. Believe me, every little bit helps. I'd also like to invite you all to my Facebook group called Homeopathy Hangout, where we can continue the conversation. And for my Australian listeners, check out my amazing range of homeopathic kits, remedies, crystals, supplements, and more at www.eugeniekruger.com. All right, let's get back to the episode. Thanks for your time.
And she says, oh no. So anyway, long story. Over the weekend, I was able to get into a foot and ankle specialist. When they looked at my x-ray, they says, oh my gosh, your foot has fallen 49.5% off your leg. And it had been that way now for 4 days. My foot was almost black by now. And he recasted the foot and then it got me in for surgery a couple of days later and plate and 10 screws. And they still couldn't do anything for my knee because they had to get the leg healed up first. So trying to get around with a knee that was it was all the tendon damage in my knee was so extensive. Like I said, I had to tie my foot up to my hip because my knee couldn't hold things together. And so I laid around for literally for weeks. But it's, how God is so good to us. It gave me a chance to read all these wonderful books. And anyway, so then after how many weeks they took the cast off, and the doctor, the foot and ankle specialist, he asked me if I ever heard of arthritis. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, well, I just want you to know that you will have arthritis in that ankle within months, not years, and you'll never get full range of motion because the tissue damage was so extensive that you're never going to be able to use that foot again. I'm like, what? He goes, and now you can go right down the hall and talk to the knee surgeon and we'll see if we can get that knee fixed up. What the heck?
Wow.
So I was pretty upset, went home, and I had already been taking homeopathy, and I call it the famous 5 because my homeopath, the wonderful man that helped me with my mastitis, he told me, he says, Sue, and oddly enough, I did not take some vitamin healing. My bones wanted to heal perfectly well. That wasn't even an issue because, like I said, in those 9 days, my leg had healed. I just rebroke it. And so anyway, I didn't take some vitamin. I should have, but I did heal up very, very quick. The bone healed. But anyway, I was taking Rudigrav, Bryonia. And oddly enough, I'm thinking all these things for my knee, especially. But the Arnica, Hypericum, Rudigrav, Bryonia, and Roostox. And as it turns out, I think that was in April or May that I got my cast off. No, it was March, the end of March. By April or May, I realized I had to have that plate and screws out because I kept bumping my leg. And so I had that out that fall, but I never did have to have knee surgery. I did go to physical therapy. I did end up going to acupuncture for a couple of treatments because I got so far in the healing that I felt like I said to my husband, I said, I'm not getting better now. I said, I still couldn't pedal my foot. I couldn't use that foot to drive because it was like dead. It was like a club foot. Wow. And I just kind of, I have to pick it up and walk. And so I did go to acupuncture. And then on the way home, I could use my foot to pedal to drive home. Amazing. And then I just kept taking the famous 5. And oddly enough, I know in today's world, we use so many high potencies. I think people are forgetting that the low potencies really work well to heal the organic, the physical body. And so I was using, honestly, 12X. And I think maybe the Bryonia might have been a 30X, but I think everything else was in a 12X. And so that's what I used for healing my leg. And they couldn't believe I didn't end up having to have knee surgery. And the physical therapist, he's like, how old are you? And I think I was 41 or 42. I was 42 at the time, maybe going on 43. And he says, I cannot believe the way you've healed. He says, this is incredible. And, so he says, what are you using again? And so I told him, and I was using essential oils too. I did use spruce, fir, and lemongrass for essential oils, to nourish the muscles and tendons of the leg and my knee, especially.
Yeah, I really love the low potencies as well for that physical healing. I love it. Right. It's great.
Yeah. So that was 17 years ago now. And I have no arthritis. I jog every day. Fact is, I just went for my 2-mile walk run. And, and I forget I had a broken leg. I really do. I have full range of motion. Even my granddaughter was out walking dogs the other day. We ran up a hill. She goes, gee, Grandma, you're fast.
Oh, best compliment ever. That's incredible, Sue. And, that's the thing with homeopathy is people get these grim diagnoses of what they can look forward to, in future. But then with the use of homeopathy, you're able to let the body heal so incredibly. Your famous 5, can you quickly run through that just slowly for our listeners?
Sure. Arnica, Hypericum, because the Arnica is for the trauma, the healing, Hypericum for the nerve pain, and then Rudigrav for the tendons, and then Bryonia and Roostox. They're both good for tendons, of course, and muscles, and they cancel each other out, but they also complement the action of each other. So it's really interesting how they work so well together, but they really do. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, and I have had people take those remedies and get off workman's comp within 2 weeks, and it's very amazing.
Amazing. And when you take them, just for our listeners as well, do you just take them all together, or do you put them together in a water bottle and shake it, or how do you use it? Okay.
When I was healing my leg, I tell people for long-term use, I like them to have all 5 individual remedies. And when I actually was in bed for so long or in my chair that I would have them on one side, the bedpost or the end table, and I'd move them to the other side. As I got up and I was more mobile, I would put them in my left pocket, and I just took them randomly. And then I would just move it over. I'd take the remedy and move it to my right pocket. And when everything was in my right pocket, I'd move everything back over to my left pocket. And I didn't pay attention because you get busy. Even you're supposed to be laying around, you're busy.
Absolutely.
And so if I do tell people they've had tremendous luck putting them together in the same bottle, I don't really like to, but as long as they're X potencies, you can. And men, it seems to work well for men who are out working, because they're not going to take all 5 of them. And so I tell people, I says, you can do it if you have to, but it is best if you can take one at a time.
And it's interesting you mentioned you didn't take some phyton, which is made from the herb comfrey.
I know.
That's bone. But you were saying your bones were healing really fast anyway.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem back then with healing, but I probably now.
My husband, we always joke because, I say to him, obviously if you're able to have access to raw milk, that's going to be really good for you. So maybe it's growing up on the dairy farm and having the raw milk. But my husband's always saying, his bones are so strong from all the milk that he drinks. I'm like, no, milk is acidic. It pulls the calcium from your bones. But it's just, I know our homogenized and pasteurized milk that we drink these days.
I was going to say the raw milk. Yeah. The fact is at that time we were milking cows. We had cows, our own milk cows. I grew up on raw milk. I always had raw milk, and now we're drinking raw milk again. It's for the first time in like 8 years I have raw milk. And so I'm so happy. I feel so much better having my raw milk again. I don't drink much. I have half a cup twice a day, but I just love it. And because I actually feel better. It helps to balance my glucose, oddly enough. I do take my glucose quite often because I do have some issues, but that seems to help. And my daughter, who has issues too, ever since, I can't remember which pregnancy it was, she started having problems. She says her glucose has come down so far now that she says, Mom, it's now actually low. I says, good for you.
That's incredible. That milk. Incredible. And Sue, you've also written 2 books as well, Homeopathy for Mommies, and there's also Homeopathy Beyond Acute Care. So for our listeners that might not have heard about these books, can you tell them a little bit about it and where they can purchase this and how it will help them?
Oh, you're so okay. Well, actually, if they go to my website, Homeopathy for Mommies, they can see both of them. The first one, again, I'll pull it here quick. The first one was a compilation of my notes. And people say, well, how did you decide on these 82 remedies? And I says, they were the ones that were in my closet because they were the ones that I had used for the first 10 years as being a mother. I will say I did have a couple of nosodes in my closet as well. I did have tuberculinum, and I must have strep nosode in my closet as well, but I didn't put them in this book because I intended this just for mommies, just learning to use homeopathy. And that was my goal, was just to teach moms. And even when I first started my podcast, this, was out of this book, and it was just the stories that inspired this book. And so then, as people, like I said, as I continue to travel around the country and teach, moms about homeopathy, it doesn't take moms very long to catch on. They want more meat. Sorry. So I'm like, okay, well, I really would like to add more remedies. So then I did. Of course, I had studied under Dinesh Chau, an Indian doctor. I had studied at seminar under him, and Dr. Chatterjee as well from India.
Oh, wow.
And, how to cure cancer. What is his, it was the seminar on curing cancer. Anyway, I was so enthralled that I learned to start case taking. And when my mentor, Dr. Barbara Lowry, lives now in Texas, she agreed to help me with my cases. So I started case taking and loved it. And anyway, so I didn't intend to get certified at that point. I just wanted to learn to case take so I could do chronic care. And then, of course, I met Paula Brown, and she's like, Sue, you have to get certified because I wanted you to speak in Texas and they won't let you because you're not certified. I'm like, well, Paula, I don't really think that that's a good enough reason to get certified. But honestly, you're right, because I want to be accountable, and I want people to have a place to go if I, did something to harm them, because I know there are people that there's no accountability for their actions. And I just don't think that's right either. And I want homeopathy to have a good name. And so anyway, that was my reason for getting certified, but Paula really pushed me. And so then I did go through the process of getting certified. And at that point, finally got through that. Then I finished this book, and it was just I think there's like 206 remedies, and this book is still small in comparison to how many remedies are out there. But it is a really good slathering of remedies, and as far as, how to use them, and you can always go from there. And when I teach the class, I tell people, okay, so if you get the plant family, you know this is the plant family because these are all this is the language that you've learned. Mm-hmm. Then you can just Google, and you can go into the larger Materia Medica and find the other remedies, because by the time they understand how to do case taking, or how to use families and mineral or plant mineral or animal kingdoms, they're going to know how to do the research. Mm-hmm. But this is just a really good book it encompasses the remedies from my first book. Mm-hmm. And then it just takes a little bit further. And like I said, we do name the plants, the kingdoms or the miasm. Mm-hmm. And then we teach the language of those as well. And so it's just, I don't know, I really like it a lot. I actually use it a lot. I like it in the ebook format, because then you can just, search words. And
oh, that's wonderful that you have the ebook format. Speaking of which, I actually just spotted Patricia LaRue's butterfly book on your bookshelf behind you.
Oh. There you go.
Oh, it's what
I love this.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
I love it as well. And
okay.
I had the ebook version of that one, but the company that sells it was a little bit tricky. The format they were using you had to actually log back into it. So I then lost my access to the online version, but I do have the physical version. But you're right. When you have the ebook, it's great, because what I would do with that butterfly book, sorry, I'm going off topic, is
good.
If a client was saying something to me and I think that sounds like a butterfly, I could just go Control F and then find the word of where it was in the book and then see which butterfly relates to that one.
Wow.
So it was really good. So it's wonderful that your book is an e-format as well. So people can buy it and then just, search that way as well. But I also notice your books are spiral bound, which I really like as well. It's does make it easier.
You know why that is? Of course, I personally love to crack a book, and, a good, stitched book. It's just there's nothing more satisfying. But I was also envisioning because this is what happened to me when I started studying homeopathy. Is I would have a book out, and I would, in the middle of the night, and I'm sitting there trying to find things heavy enough to hold the book open. Well, I would run and, see if I had something or whatever. And I had a baby in one arm, and I'm trying to read a book. So it's just so that you can be reading your book and leave it open where you're at, and
it's very
take
practical.
Care of the baby or go get the baby. Yeah. All because, we raise 11 kids.
And I love that you are doing that with fellow mothers in mind, and their dilemma. You know what it's like 2 a.m. in the morning when the kids got an ear infection or vomiting or everything else, and the practical aspects of what is involved when you're trying to care for your kid and trying to find the right remedy at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And you also have a membership. Are people still allowed to join? How does that work?
Well, I will tell you, I'm not in charge of that. I have my assistant. I know my assistant, Joy. She says she's my assistant. She's my partner. Okay. She's my partner in crime.
Wonderful.
I just love it. And she takes care of all of the technical stuff. And so,
amazing.
Well, just to keep the membership very, very safe, she only opens it at certain times. And then she asks people to fill out a questionnaire where they heard about it, who directed them there, whatever, because we want all of our members to feel very, very safe. So we let people in very slow. It's, kind of sporadic and slow. She will open it again. I think, my daughter's getting married in 3 weeks. Another one of my daughters is getting married. And so she said she'd wait till after the wedding, and then we'll do another little webinar, and then let people fill out questionnaire and come in again. But yeah, absolutely. They can email. I wished I had the address, but it's just info at homeopathyformommies.com. And they can ask Joy or Lori about applying to become a member. And it's like, when I teach seminars, we always hand out coupons, and people can get a free week so that they can see what the membership is like. And we're like you have a Facebook group. I don't do Facebook, but it's private. They say it's kind of like Facebook. And then the members can ask questions. And oddly enough, they'll ask questions, like you said, in the middle of the night. There's always somebody that can help them. It's so weird. It's really rare that there's not somebody there to say, hey, okay, what else is going on? It's not just this, but what else is going on? And so the moms help each other. We have a couple of moms that literally answer everyone's questions. It's just hilarious.
I know.
And so I'll say, yeah, it's amazing. I like it a lot.
It's the same in my Facebook group. Some of these mums, I'm like, how are you? Firstly, how on earth did you get so good with homeopathy so quickly? And sometimes they answer questions. I'm like, oh, that's a really good remedy. I wouldn't have thought of that. They actually teach me. But then also just how selflessly they give of their own time to help other mothers. And I actually tried to get my group off Facebook last year, and we spent thousands of dollars on creating this incredible platform, but people were just not ready to get off Facebook. And so we ended up just dumping the whole project and just staying in the Facebook group, because my fear is really that, the group might get closed down. You never know. I'm just waiting for the day when I'm going to turn up and Facebook's going to say, won't even say, the group will just be gone. So I am really worried about that. But the mums were just not ready to get off Facebook. So it does feel like a bit of a necessary evil. But if I see the incredible support network that we're growing, and I know that you have that with your membership as well, where these mothers are supporting each other. It's creating this incredible community as well, virtually and in person, and just getting back to our roots of helping each other out, like mothers sharing their wisdom, sharing their knowledge, and being there for each other, which is incredible.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And like I said, I don't like technology. So, I begged Joy for like 2 years. Joy, isn't there something we could do that's more private? I said, because I would love to be able to tell the whole story. I would love to be able to say anything I want to say. And I wanted to be able to tell my story of what had happened to me and how I was slapped in the, oh my gosh. But I'll make sure that Joy gives you a free week so you can get in there and listen to Sue's story. Okay. Because you would appreciate it. You really would. But anyway, so, I wanted to be able to tell the whole story. And so people could, come in and I think they appreciate it because they know where I'm coming at, because I've known a lot of things for a really, really long time. Like all this stuff that's happened with, in the last 2 years, that was no surprise to me, because 25 years ago, I got a really strong glimpse of what was already happening. Anyway, I won't go into it, but I've known for a really long time, what could happen. So I have
little tease for people to join the membership once it opens back up again. So we'll leave them there. That's a great cliffhanger.
There you go.
So Sue, what is your final message that you want to share with our listeners? What is the message that you want to get across about homeopathy?
Oh, you're going to make me cry. The greatest gift that we've been given is to have people like Eugenie, I guess myself, and so many other homeopaths out there that, like I said, are happy to try and get the message out, happy to share our lives and the things that we know. But it's a grace that we've been given, and we've responded to that grace. And everyone that's listening to us is also responding to the grace that they have been led into homeopathy and natural, herbs or oils and remedies. And I think the most important thing for all us to realize is that it is a gift. And we need to be thankful for that gift. We need to embrace that gift and try to protect that gift as much as we can. And like I said, continue to help each other and help each other grow, and we'll hold each other up. And I really think that no matter what happens, we're going to get through all the ugly. I really believe we will. It's not going to be easy, but we'll get through it. And, and one just little word of mention to you is that maybe on your Facebook group, just have like an address of where they can contact you, so that if some things do good, I'll make sure they know where they can go to, have that safe place again someday.
No,
because it probably will.
Ours is pretty lucky in that actually of the 900 odd mums in there, most of them are in Perth itself. So that's actually been, I think part of why it's been so lovely is that most of us actually, like many of us actually know each other in person. Wow. So that's been really amazing. Great. But once again, all that data is there for, I don't even want to go there, but it's definitely, I think what you've got, a membership of Facebook group, is absolutely the way to go. And like you say, it's a very safe space because people are vetted before they actually go in there, which really does make a huge difference.
It makes me I feel happy with it too. And everyone's become so close, I'm assuming on your Facebook group, they do too, but absolutely. We all know Facebook's not very private.
No.
Got to watch what you say a little bit.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I love about it in our group, the mums help each other out. Like you were saying before, somebody's always up, breastfeeding their child or woken up by something, and, quickly check their phones and they'll quickly answer some questions. But if people need remedies, the thing that I really love is when mums actually drive over to each other's houses and share remedies. That gets me so excited.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because
that's amazing.
Your child's not going to get their ear infection necessarily in business hours. And if you don't have a remedy, it's great if you've got a friend that can help you out.
That's great. That is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Sue, it's been so amazing to chat with you. And I urge everyone to go check out your website, homeopathyformommies.com. And check out Sue's membership and also her incredible books. And absolutely check out her podcast. I hear you've had like 500,000 downloads. I have just hit 30,000. So I've got much more to go.
Well, I've been at it for a while. And the thing is too, is downloads are different than people listening to.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So because I don't download everything I listen to.
No, I don't.
So I'm sure you're being listened to because you've got a fun voice and you're sweet.
Well,
so thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
I told my daughter, I says, I'm going, for whatever reason, I was nervous about doing a podcast with you. I says, I feel bad now because I just expect everybody wants to do this. I says, it is a bit nerve-wracking.
It is a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes, but I think the advantage is that I've listened to you several hundred hours and it's the first time you've met me. So
you're so sweet.
I just feel like I've always known you. So thank you so much for today, Sue. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate it as well. Thank you.
Bye.
God bless you.
Same.